Hey there, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Show, where we bring you badasses from all over the globe who are going to help you boost your business, increase your profits, feel fulfilled in your life and your business. And you all, I'm very excited today to have a veteran business owner who has been in business with his own business for over 20 years. And he has been in the business world working with people on authentic branding for over 35 years, you all. And that is Charley Timmins, the what's next guy. And, I know that a lot of you are at a stage in your life where you're saying, I'm an empty nester now. What's next? Or I've just been part of that great resignation during COVID and, I'm out of the corporate world. What's next? Or maybe you've had somebody leave you. What's next? So that's what we're going to talk about today, as well as your main problem in business and life. So welcome to the show, Charley.
Doctor, very, very nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've heard wonderful things about your show.
I'm thrilled that you're here, Charley. I know we've talked about this for a while and we are making it happen, which always makes me excited. I know that your message is important and the length of time that you have been doing this is a huge testimony to your commitment, So I know probably some people are like 22 years, 35 years. Wow, that's a lot. You don't look that old, Charley. But that's a joke, Charley. On Bold Badass Business, we cackle if we feel like it. So I'm wondering, I'm imagining that other people are wondering too, when did you first start doing in some form what you're doing now?
Thank you for asking that question, Doctor. Um, First grade.
That is pretty impressive, Charley.
It was unplanned. I was in grade school. We had 60 boys and girls in a class. Now, I went to a Catholic school as a child, and the Catholics have a way of keeping everybody lined up alphabetically and in uniforms. And in their classrooms, we had 60. And in the classrooms, only one person was running the class. And she was probably about 8 or 9 feet tall. She had this thing on her head, made her seem so much bigger, right? But anyway, she was a pro. She was using 21st century concept called mentoring. She would look around the class, and whoever got completed quickly would be deployed for those who were moving more slowly. Because back in the day, you only moved as fast as the slowest kid. So one day, apparently I finished quickly, and I was getting fidgety. And she said to me, Timmy, that was my nickname, Timmy, go help Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen Bracken in the first row. Now, Mary Ellen Bracken was the smartest and prettiest girl in the class. And I knew back then what I liked. So I took my chair and started moving my chair along the wall because as a T, I was up against the windows. And I was pulling it, making a lot of noise, pulling it around the back. And the reason we moved the chairs is because we used to have to hide under the desk because the Russians were going to bomb us. So we had to protect ourselves. So I pulled the chair up next to her, and she looked at me with this look on her face like, what are you doing here? I persisted. We got to work. I do not know what her issue was, but we solved it fairly quickly. And doctor, she turned her head at me. She had this beautiful auburn hair, beautiful blue eyes, and she flashed this huge grin at me. I melted. I live for those smiles. She had a breakthrough. She had a light bulb moment. And when I started looking back on my life as to how often do I create light bulb moments, it went all the way back to first grade. I have story after story about how I did it. It was unintentional, but it's part of who I am. And I realized that this is a gift that I got very early in life. And I practiced it without even knowing it. Now I'm conscious about it, and today it's a calling.
I love it. It's your superpower, facilitating light bulb moments for people that change their lives. And so important because usually, we can't have those light bulb moments sitting by ourselves trying to figure it out. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. It's hard work.
We need someone else.
We're not here to do it alone.
So true, so true. And I often say, what happens to lone wolves? They starve in the cold, There's a reason there's a
Interesting.
pack. There's a reason there's a pack. And I'm so grateful that, we have a community around us as entrepreneurs. We have different communities that we can avail ourselves of to establish relationships so that if we have whatever kind of issue, we have someone who can help us with it. But it's essential that we ask for that help, and Charley, I see a lot of people just trying to go and learn some whole new system, or, oh, I want to do video marketing. Let me learn how to do it. They're not going to even get to the video marketing because they're trying to make themselves an expert into something that's not their expertise.
That's a great point. That's a great insight, Doctor. Great insight.
You can just call me Dr. Barnsley. When you say doctor, I'm like, oh God, I just went to the doctor today. Where are they?
Dr. Barnsley.
Well, or Dr. B. It makes me feel like a rapper, Charley.
Ooh,
Maybe we'll do a rap today on Bold Badass Business. You never know.
Dr. B,
there you go. I love it. And Charley T. Dr. B and Charley T. There we go. We got it.
Well, be careful now.
Yeah, I know. It's like Charlie's Angels. There you go. So, this topic that you and I brainstormed about, I love it because I found some of the questions that I ask people, such as, what do you really want? If you only had 30 days to live, what would you be doing, and who would you be doing it with? Who would you be spending your precious time with? Some of these questions are, what are your highest values? People have never been asked. They've never been asked these questions. And so I love that you're the what's next guy and really helping people to delve. And I'm curious, and I bet others listening are curious too, about some of the questions that you really like to ask people.
Well, I've been accused of going very deep very, very quickly. I just have a very curious mind, and people fascinate me. They're a huge puzzle, Dr. B. Mm-hmm. Trying to figure out what's motivating them, what's driving them, why are they making the decisions they're making? And oftentimes they just don't know. Imagine a 55-year-old man who, after 25 years of growing his career by moving around and following titles and money, suddenly realizes what's next. Mm-hmm. When he looks back, he can't explain how he got here. Why did you take that position? How did it align with your purpose, with your long-term vision for yourself? They just simply know, because we're not taught how to do this. When we're a child, as you know, we live in our own little bubble. The minute we get socialized, or as some people like to call it, domesticated, what ends up happening is we stop being ourselves and we start adapting our behavior to fit what we believe other people want us to do. We look at the symbols of success and we say, how do I get that? What do I need to do to get there? And what we do is we follow paths that other people have followed. They're not necessarily right for us. We have to find out what's right for us. So throughout my career, I've had 6 distinct careers. I've had 15 distinct jobs, many of them more than once. And I've been told to leave. We don't need you anymore. Thank you for your time. 5 times. Mm-hmm. And when I look back on all those 5 times, I was doing something for that employer that was not consistent with my purpose. When I look back, no wonder they asked me to leave, because when I'm not living my purpose, I'm an unhappy camper. I kick the can down the road. I'm not nice to be around. I ask a question that drives people crazy. Why don't we try a different way? If you're in charge and you have an employee constantly questioning the way you're doing it, you become quite irritable. And therefore, they asked me to leave. And I realized that. When I look back at my career, the things I was most proud of, where I had the greatest impact, I was trying to find a better way to do something for my clients, for the company, for myself. And sometimes there's resistance because people don't want to change. They want to keep things the way they are. And that's not in my DNA to do things that way.
It makes for a good entrepreneur, because we've definitely got to be revising our systems and our ways of operating all the time. based on new input. So it's helpful when you're in business for yourself, because, how are you going to fire yourself, right? Hey, could we do things a little differently? Yes, we could. You can have a conversation with your own self, but when you're working for someone else, yes. I had this experience too in academia, Charlie, where I was seen as an upstart. Really?
Really?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that the term they used?
No, that's my term, upstart.
Okay.
Oh, yes, upstart. Because I would ask questions and I questioned things, and I saw different ways that we could do things that were more progressive, and it wasn't really welcome. But I'm grateful
No.
for that now, because it got me out of that, Charlie. I was like, do I want to stay here and hit my head against the wall trying to change people who don't want to change, and a system that's stuck like solid in cement, like a fence
What
post?
what caused you to do this type of work?
You know, this is an interesting question. What caused me, I would say, Charlie, is just really seeing the change I could make for people when I was working with them on their personal and their professional growth. That really, which you call the smile, and I just
Yeah.
call it the transformation of somebody leaving behind a lot of burdens and a lot of hard stuff from the past and stepping into a future with excitement. And I saw that happening a lot. And I saw that happening while I was in graduate school, while I was teaching Reiki. I would train people in Reiki while I was also teaching at the university and doing my graduate degree. And those were the weekends I lived for. Those weekends of that transformation, that I got to spend that time with people. And there was no grading, there was no judging. It was just an open space for people to be who they are.
Well, I can feel the passion coming from you as you
Yeah.
tell that story.
Yeah.
You asked me earlier, what questions do I ask? That's a question I ask. It's
Yeah.
like, how'd you get here? What's the journey been like? How did you end up here? And their energy goes up when they're talking about something that they have passion about. And
Mhm.
passion is usually tied to purpose. Because again, our purpose is why we're doing what we're doing. And if we're not passionate about it, why are we doing it? Because then it becomes work. You don't go to work every day, Dr. B.
I don't.
You have a calling, and
I
you're
do.
impacting one life at a time in
Yep.
hopes that they affect people.
It ripples
And
out.
that's exactly right. So entrepreneurs tend to look for white space, areas that aren't being touched or impacted by others. And they say, I am going to do something in this space that hasn't been done before. The thing that I notice is that many times people fail in business because they're doing what other people are doing. They
Mm.
haven't found their unique difference, their value proposition that is distinguished from everybody else. That's what gets people attracted to you. I haven't heard anything like this before. This is unusual. How do you do it? You have to get their attention, and it can't be by being the same old, same old. You do
I
not
love
be,
that.
you do not have shrink wrap programs, out of the box solutions. Everything that you do, and I admire you for this, is tailored for that individual. Therefore, they aren't going to get it anywhere else
Nope,
except you.
they're
I
not.
remember I remember somebody saying to me, Charlie, why shouldn't I do business with XYZ company? They do what you do. And I said, well, I don't work there.
Good response.
Right?
Touche. Well, there's something I want to pause for a second and come back to what you said about your value proposition. Now, those of you who are listening, who are thinking about starting a business or new in business, may not know your UVP, your unique value proposition, is one of those business terms, and it's about being able to explain what really differentiates you, what makes you different from
Yes.
every other person who's a coach, or every other person who's a speaker, or every other person who's an electrician, whatever it is you do. So the UVP is very important, and I like to change it, Charlie, too, and I call it the USP, which is
What's that?
unique soul proposition.
Really?
Because I
That's
believe
cool.
our soul here has that purpose, and it's something that we are called to do it. Whether you want to call it being called by the universe or divine spirit or whatever whatever you want to call that energy, it is something that we have been designated to do, and no one else can actually do it. What do you think of this?
I think that we all have a calling to serve. How we serve depends on how we're wired. If we don't know who we are, if we don't know our authentic self, it's very hard to make decisions about what to do with our lives. Because what ends up happening is we play whack-a-mole. We play the game of trying to guess at what we should do as opposed to really starting the center. The locus is in us. It's not out there. That's what I've learned along the way. It took me a long, long time to figure that out. And when I work with people, I try to save them the suffering of going through what I went through to get to where I eventually ended up saying, wait a minute, this is who I really am. And this is how I want to serve other people to help them find themselves so that they can move forward and have the impact they want to have. I mean, most people, as you know, are able to retire in their late 50s or 60s. The question I have for them, what are you going to do for the next 30 years? Sit around and give it.
Too many of them retire into the earth or into an urn.
Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning said, without purpose, you die young. You die quickly. Yes. So my question I say to people, what kind of life do you want to have? You can design the life you want, but it starts with knowing who the heck you are. You don't make a bet unless you're fairly certain of the outcome. And most people are making bad bets because without having a true sense of who you are, you're not making good decisions.
So true, because they're not. How can it be aligned? How can your decisions be aligned if you don't even know what your metric is? You know, you don't know what the measure is.
When I started doing this kind of work, it was kind of overwhelming and confusing to me. So many moving parts, so many different theories, et cetera. But over time, I've sort of simplified the process down to really 4 steps that people can go through to discover not only who they are, but what they should be doing and how that sets up the rest of their life. Would you care to hear?
Absolutely. And you all listening, tell the dog to sit. You heard my dogs. There was somebody on their street and they are unhappy that there is another dog on their street. But you all put the dog, make the dog sit, get something to write with, because Charlie's a genius. You want to write this stuff down. So what are our 4 steps, Charlie?
You're going to make me blush, lady.
Well, listen, you are a genius. You are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on the Bold Badass show, because we only have the best of the best.
Listen, all of us are in sales. We are responsible for getting people to buy us, to buy into us, whether it's our ideas, our business, or whatever. It's our responsibility. And research says they buy you before they buy your service. They buy into you. So if we don't know who we are, the service, how the heck can we properly position it and market it to people? So the biggest problem is people just don't know who they are. What do they believe? What are their values? What are their strengths? What are the various roles that can play inside an organization? What is their why? If you're familiar with that concept, if they don't understand that, then how can they go out and convince other human beings to buy them? Whether they're looking for a job, looking for a client, trying to make a transition in their life, it's difficult to get people to buy in if you don't know what you're offering. You talked about unique value proposition. That's inside us. What is it? Let's discover it. It's not hard to discover. It just takes a process to do that. So that first area I call clarity. So we have to get clear about ourselves. Now, once we get clear about ourselves, we're obviously saying, well, who needs that? And are they willing to pay me what I am worth to be able to deliver that service or product? So that means we have to look at the marketplace and figure out who the ideal buyer is. What are the challenges that they're facing? The needs, the wants, the desires. What opportunities are they looking for that we may be able to connect them with? So if we know who we are and we know who the target market is, then we can start writing collateral. We can do a website. We can do our LinkedIn. We can develop our elevator pitch. Because up until that particular point, if we don't know who we are, our audience is, whatever comes out of our mouth is not going to be effective. Is not going to be effective. So now we know who we are. We know who the target market is. Now the next thing we have to do is how do we engage with them? So social media, for example, is a way of engaging with people. This show is a way of engaging with people. But not everybody wants to engage the way you want to engage. They have to find their own methods. For example, I have a client right now. What he's doing is he wants to write a series of articles and eventually self-publish a book. And
Yep.
so he's going to leaders in the healthcare field and talking about a topic that's on the verge of happening within healthcare. And he's interviewing these people. Now, these are CEOs of major healthcare systems, getting their opinion and their insights as to what the future will be on this particular topic. He's getting access to people that he would never get access to otherwise. And when this tsunami happens in a couple of years, guess who they're going to call?
Exactly. And that relationship, hopefully he's cultivating that relationship. It's one of the major reasons, actually, Charlie, that I started this show is I wanted to have great conversations with kick-ass people who are doing great work in the world. And I wanted their message, like you say, to ripple out. And I wanted to share, I wanted us to be able to debate and talk about these things that are usually not talked about in business. So much of what we hear in business circles is really just, like you say, it's a cookie cutter. And it's pretty boring cookie cutter at that. I like to provide the contrarian cookie cutter where we'll actually dissect some things and give some new ideas,
Well, there's an episode on the Seinfeld series where George, the character, is advised by Jerry to do the opposite of whatever he thinks he should do. It's a very, very funny episode. And George has fun with it, and it pays off because sometimes we have to do the opposite. We have to get outside of our comfort zone because that's where the future is. We have to push it. But if we don't know who we are, we don't know what we have to offer, we don't know who our target market is, how can we package that and present it properly to get people to invest in themselves with us so they can grow and expand? And then the fourth area is continuous learning and mastery. Mm-hmm. If people get to a destination like, okay, I bought a franchise, that's not the end of the line. That's the beginning of a new chapter. And they have to continue to develop mastery over how to work with employees, how to deal with limited resources, how to market to, let's say, business to consumer, when before they may have only been business to business. Mm-hmm. All of this requires them to continuously grow and expand. I get a lot of referrals from people who say, Charlie, I have this friend of mine. He left corporate America. He got off the merry-go-round. He decided he was going to trade his time for money as a consultant, and he's in trouble. So he's referred to me. We have a conversation. At the end of the conversation, they'll usually say, well, what do you think? I'll say, do you want Coach Charlie or do you want Charlie, the friendly guy? And they'll say, Coach Charlie, of course. And I said, I know what the problem is. It's not your SEO, because people are telling you need to spend more money on your SEO, or you need a new website. They're telling you need a new website. What do these people do for a living? They sell SEO. They sell websites. That's what you need to change. I said, I know what the problem is. What is it? I said, are you sure you want to hear it? Yes. You are the problem. What do you mean? We've sat here for 45 minutes and we talked. You are a fractured fairy tale. You do not know yourself. You're not making sense. You're not inspiring me to want to work with you. When that happens, the cash register dries up. That's why you're having problems with the business. Mm-hmm. We need to hit the reset button and understand what's really different about you that they can't get anywhere else, that people desperately need right now. That will change things around for you. It's hard for people to hear it, but part of my role is to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear.
Exactly. And, it's kind of like tough love, but that is what a good coach is going to do. And I like the distinction that you're giving, Charlie, of do you want Coach Charlie or Friendly Charlie? Because Coach Charlie needs to show up with power for people and with truth, with incisive wisdom, right? And I always, I do ask for permission in my coaching with people. Would you like me to share what I think? I ask for permission first. Yes. And then once I have that permission, I'll say, or I may preface it with, this is probably going to make you mad, and that's okay. For me, I'm fine with you being mad at me, I want to serve you. Do you still want to know? Yes. Usually it's yes. I have had a few no's, and then I don't share. And then I share the thing. But
But
it's
you,
so much easier, isn't it, to just toe the line and tell somebody what they want to hear than to actually be really incisive and tell them what the issue is.
why do you think some coaches operate that way? They just want to be nice to people.
I don't know. They're people pleasers. It, they think that popularity is leadership, but I'm very clear that leadership is not a popularity contest, right? And I don't mean that we have to lead huge organizations, everybody listening. I mean your self leadership in your life. I mean your leadership in your family. I mean your leadership in your spiritual community. I mean your leadership in your business, of all the people, employees, and people you serve, internal and external customers. That's what I mean. Your leadership should not be a popularity contest. Like, you're not in that to win. Be the leader who makes things better, not who makes things palatable.
It's true. It's not, taking an aspirin will relieve the headache for a while, but you really
Yeah.
need to get at the source of what is causing it. And you have a reputation for doing that, and I commend you for that.
Thanks, Charlie. I do my best. And, I was thinking as you were talking, I was really thinking about a client of mine who, when she came in, she'd been given this, this whole box, this little can of what her business should be. And it was not who she was serving. And it was not her. And I said, look, this messaging is off. And you see, if we don't know who we are, our messaging is off. And if our messaging is off, nobody's going to get it. Nobody's going to want it. Nobody's going to buy it. Right. And so as soon as we realized, I said, I want you to go back. I want you to look at the last 6 or 8 people that you served. Doesn't matter, because she's pretty new in business. I said, it doesn't matter if they paid you or not, but people that you served with what you do. I want you to write down what their results were. Who were they? Who were they? Describe them, and what were their results? And then we're going to look for the patterns. And what we realized is she was really serving women who were unhappy with their current careers, usually 40s, 50s, and wanted to change, wanted to do something that really was their heart's desire. And by the way, Charlie, I am going to connect you to, because I think there's synergy for you all there. And serving them to realize what really makes them happy, what really lights them up, what really they want, and to go for it, not to live their life wanting and wishing.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there's a book that came out in 2023, Doctor, that it's called From Strength to Strength. And in there, he talks about 2 curves that we all ride. The first curve is making money. We need to make money to survive. We need to make money to make sure we don't run out of money.
Yep.
But there comes a particular point. For women, it's usually in their mid 40s, men early 50s, where they jump to the curve of making meaning. So as you were talking about the client, this was a feeling she had. There had to be more. She wanted to make an impact. And so many people go through that. And it creates a conflict, because their boss is telling them, work harder, make more money, get promotions. On the other hand, they're saying, this doesn't work for me anymore. And they feel there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. According to this book, it's a very natural occurrence. It's part of our growth process. When you have an empty nest, you have less expenses. You have more time. You can take risks doing things that matter to you, and therefore can matter to other people. So it's making meaning in that portion of our lives. Because when we look back, for many people, their professional career was 30, 35 years. Time after that was 40 years for some of them. What did they do in those 40 years? Some will sit around and have daily organ recitals. They'll talk about their pancreas. They'll talk about their bowels. They'll talk about their organs, right? They could be doing so much more with the talent, gifts, and networks that they have.
So true. And I really don't believe in any way in retirement, really, because we're all meant to be on purpose and be contributing. And when we are contributing to others, whether it's through rescuing animals, something I love to do, or we're reading to a senior, or whatever it is that we're doing, whatever you enjoy, you all listening, contributing to others, even making brownies and dropping them off to a friend or a neighbor, just contributing to others is what you're here to do. And it's amazing that when we focus out, we find fulfillment inside too.
Well, that's saying when you give, it'll eventually come back. It's not going to come back possibly directly from the other individual, but the universe has a way of saying thank you and presenting us with opportunities that may never have come our way had we not been giving to other people. And giving, it doesn't mean you roll over. Giving is really serving people in their to serve them in a way that they need to be served at that moment in time.
Yes, and sometimes the service we give people is a service that isn't exactly, it doesn't look like service. Right now I have someone who's overstaying in an Airbnb of mine, Charlie, and I just did a Facebook Live about it recently and just talking about givers and takers. And I'm serving her by evicting her. That is service, because it is not good for her integrity to be out of integrity.
There you go. That's it.
It's service, and it's not fun, and I don't enjoy that piece, and I don't like hiring a lawyer and going to court or any of that. And at the same time, it's serving her, and it's also serving someone else who she is showing this to, which is her daughter. She has a 17-year-old. 17-year-old's watching mom live off of other people. Not okay. And it's awesome. So I'm serving her daughter, and I'm serving anybody in the future she might think about doing this to. It's not okay. So we serve sometimes, you all, and it really, coming back to tough love, it looks like tough love. Service could be stop focusing on your stupid website. That's not the problem. The issue is you're not going out. You don't know who you are, and you're not going out and building relationships with people, relationships that can result in referrals for you and them, relationships that can result in partnerships, relationships that can result in business.
One of the things that I've learned is I can't have relationships with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
One of the assessments that I've taken, and I have all my clients taken, identified that there are only 13% of the people that have a why similar to my own. My why is to find a better way, right? So when I find those particular people, there's a resonance, a connection that happens that really creates energy between the two of us because we value that highly. So I'm looking for people that have a sense of want to make a contribution. Sure, they need to make money, but over and above that, they want to work for companies that are trying to have a social impact, an environmental impact, a people impact, and still make money using their gifts and talents a certain way. Now they are more fulfilled because they have a more holistic career than they may have had before. It's right in front of us. The issue is not the person. The issue often is their process by which they go about showing up.
Interesting. The process. And I just came out of an intensive, and we were really looking at those things that we are spending our time on that are not in our zone of genius. There's that word again. And how to get them off our plate, or just, maybe even not have them done at all, but how to bring in the things that really we desire to bring in. So even if it's just, I don't know if you've read that book, Tiny Habits. Have you read that book?
Yes.
Yeah. So just having 7 minutes, okay, 7 minutes on that thing that is your dream, or 10 minutes on that thing that is your dream. And you do habit stacking with something else you enjoy, like listen to the music you enjoy, or you do it while you're walking, you brainstorm for your business while you're walking. But to begin very small with just a simple thing, or you brush your teeth and give gratitude for the top, the 3 things, list 3 things you're grateful for. But just having a process that you use that gets you to do what would be overwhelming if you didn't chunk it down, right?
That's a great idea. Yep.
Yeah.
That's BJ Fogg, right?
Yes, exactly. Strange
to it.
name. And I think it is so important that as we look at knowing ourselves, and knowing who the hell you are, is to think about what's that part in you that feels unfulfilled. So right now, Charlie, I don't have enough writing time. Like I haven't created enough writing time. I'm just giving this example for everyone. And that is something that needs to happen for me. And so I'm working on that 10-minute. I'm going to give my 10 minutes and have my little timer. I love my timer. I love my ticking timer here. Woo! And give myself that 10 minutes at the end of working with my clients today. 10 minutes for me before I do anything else, and the 10 minutes on my writing. And I would say to everybody, it's so sad because usually those things that you most feel called to do, that maybe the next part of your future, are getting put on the back burner. So what do you do with that, Charlie? How do you get people to take it from the back burner and put it on the front burner, or maybe not even in the front burner, to put it in a bowl and start eating it?
Yeah, you have to get very analytical and have them look at where they're spending their time, and revenue generating activities, I call it. What are you doing to generate revenue? In your particular case, what am I doing to create space for my passion, which is writing? What am I doing, and what can I leave out? How can I rearrange things? Oftentimes, we need to delegate, give it to somebody else to do, to free up the space for us to be able to do that. When we're in our zone of genius, whatever it is, that is when we're in flow. That's when we are realizing that time is flying by and we're
Yep.
getting a lot done. Whether it's in the morning, the evening, whatever it is, we have to figure that out for ourselves. What is our operating system where we're going to maximize our potential and be able to use it in the service of others and do well by doing good?
Yes, and it needs to be one that feels good to who you are. Because I know I heard somebody recently who's a great leader. He gets up at 5 a.m. and there are like 20 things he does to prepare for his day. And Charlie, when I hear that, I just want to pull every bit of my hair out, really. That is just, but I do have my process in the morning, Reiki and self-hypnosis, get up, feed the dogs, then usually networking, right? And my RGAs, make sure I send them to my clients and make sure they send them to me in a text. We have a group text. So I've got those things, but 20 things, that for me is overwhelming. I'm a person who likes to keep it simple. I know simplicity means it's going to get done. Chances are it's going to get done. But when it's 20 things, it just feels to me like I have to. So I just want to say to everybody listening, make sure that the process you have makes sense to you. It's kind of like a filing system. I really don't care how you file things, if you use Evernote or you use a wooden file cabinet, but with different little things you handwrite on the hanging folders. But knowing yourself and knowing what you will actually use and what makes sense to you so that you can find what you want. Know that.
And everybody's system is different, and
Mm-hmm.
they have to find what works. And oftentimes people question, why do I need a coach? Why do I need a coach? And I tell them, well, first of all, you never budgeted for a coach. You don't start the year and say, I'm going to set X amount of dollars aside for a coach, but you just defined it. Is somebody who's going to help you make those decisions. They're not going to do it for you. They're going to guide you and help you evaluate what's important, what's not important, what needs to get done in alignment with your purpose. So it starts with purpose. If we don't know our purpose, if we do not know our why, it affects everything that we do. We can't make good decisions without that as an anchor. It helps us filter out information that we should not pay attention to, that's distracting, and have us focus on what is important. The former head coach of the University of Alabama football team, Nick Saban, every year he would get 40 or 50 new kids come into school. All these kids were superstars in their communities. All of them had statues erected at the football field before they graduated. And they all come in and they're all rookies as far as he's concerned. And he sits down with them and he was asked, how do you mold this team together? He said, I tell them two very simple things: starve distraction and feed focus. Distraction, the media, is a big distraction for his program. Um, uh, Men and women that are after the students, that's big distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Other students, but focus on what they need to do to be able to perform. He had a winning program every year as a result of those two simple things that he used to get kids in alignment toward his goal of winning a national championship. There's a lot to be said about that particular philosophy. Simple, like you said.
Starve distraction and feed focus. Those are true gems right there. Starve distraction, feed focus. And it is that lack of focus that that takes people on a really bunny trail, down a bunny trail with their
Yeah,
business. We've
it's
all
true.
seen those people who are serial entrepreneurs who every year they have a different business. Stop,
Correct. Well,
stop,
since
stop, stop.
during the pandemic, you and I spent a lot of time in Zoom in all kinds of different rooms with all kinds of different people. What I was amazing over that period of time, I saw people go through two or three different iterations of their business. What are you doing now? It's 180 degrees from what they had committed their life's work to doing. It's reacting to what the marketplace wants and feeling that that is their purpose as opposed to what's going to satisfy themselves on the inside. It's an inside out process that most people do not know how to do. You can't do it by yourself. It takes forever. I'll swear to that. It took me forever, years to figure it out. So it doesn't have to be that way. Clock's ticking. The world's waiting for you.
And there's always another level. There's always another level for every single one of us, which is why I always have coaches, always. And I love investing in them because they invest in me. They invest in me and they ask me the questions that allow me to overcome my blind spots. And they ask me the questions that encourage me to actually delve. This weekend, I came up with the coolest thing, Charlie. I'm so excited about it because I had an issue, right? The issue is I wanted to have more productivity working with my VA. And, I was feeling like there's not enough happening there and that it's very scattered. And so I created a whole schedule about the hours for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Each day is focused on a different aspect of our promotion and marketing. So day one is follow up and prep for shows. And I have it broken down into tasks and a checklist. Day 2 is this, day 3 is this, day 4 is this, day 5 is that. And there will be daily reports given back. And I'm so excited about this. And this was not something that we actually hammered out in the intensive I just got out of that was with one of my coaches, two of my coaches actually. It wasn't actually an exercise there, but as I listened to another exercise that we were on, this came out. I said, oh, wow, that's what I've got to do. And I knew it. It was absolutely catalyzed by the event and the coaching that happened, not just of me, but of other people this weekend. So I would just want everyone to really hear what we're talking about. What Charlie's saying is about always having a coach is important, and investing in that for yourself because you deserve to really know who you are. You deserve to have those questions asked. And my experience is that no one else is going to ask them.
If people do not know what drives you, what you're passionate about, they may not approach you with an opportunity that's perfect for you because they don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how often do we just keep doing things and keep getting the results that maybe we don't necessarily love, but there's no one rocking us or catapulting us out of our comfort zone. So we're just trundling along, like a hamster on a wheel and going slow on that wheel. And we really need somebody who can come and shake the wheel and say, hey, wait a second, let's look at this for a minute.
You mean like a badass business coach?
Yeah, like a badass business coach or a what's next guy, somebody who could shake our world up because we've gotten too entranced.
Yes.
Too
Very
in
true.
the comfort zone. We are in the illusion and not in the reality of our purpose. Well, Charley, this has been such a fruitful discussion, and I know that everyone listening has been thinking about those questions that you've posed and thinking about some of the concepts that you've brought up. And definitely I'm taking away that idea of, starve distraction and feed focus. I love that. That is so true.
My
Uh,
gift from Lou Saban, Nick Saban, I should say.
yes. So tell us, I know that you're going to give away something lovely to the freebie vault. And you all listening, if you are new to Bold Badass Business, you're going to be super excited because you're going to get thousands of dollars of gifts. Yes, I did say thousands of dollars of free gifts, which are here. Get a pen and or paper, bit.ly/free from Dr. B, and that is spelled DRB. So again, you're going to go to bit.ly/free from Dr. B, DRB, and you're going to be able to get into the freebie vault where you're going to find these gifts that are just amazing checklists and sessions and courses and videos and all sorts of stuff, mind movies and ebooks and, just the gamut of things there for you, all gifts from our badass guests. Charley, what are you going to add to the freebie vault?
I'm a big believer. I believe in the principles of the Go-Giver, Bob Burg's book.
Guess what? He's on the show, Charley. Woohoo!
The greatest gift we have is ourselves. So I'd like to give the gift to myself. I'm very happy to meet with any of your people on this call that would like to spend a half an hour with me talking about what's going on in their world. Hopefully I can see patterns. I can connect some dots. I can offer them some insights that they've not seen them yet. Maybe they'll have that light bulb moment that could put them on the right path. And this is a complimentary call. It's not a sales call. It's really to help you get more clarity, etc. And I'm happy to do that. I've been doing that for a long, long time. And I'm living for those smiles where people light up and they just say, I get it now. So that's my gift.
I never thought about that. Oh, wow. I never thought about that. Those kinds of reactions. Love that. So you all, you can, when you get into the freebie vault, bit.ly/free from Dr. B, you'll be able to find this episode with Charley's session that he's offering you. This is wonderful. A 30-minute complimentary session directly with him. That is quite the gift, so that you can talk about some of the things you have listened to, some of your ahas in this episode, for instance, or you can have him ask some of those questions that he asks his clients, which help them to know what really is next for them and what they really want to be next in their life.
And sometimes they're one answer away from finding out.
I love that. That's a great way for us to end. Sometimes you're just one answer away from finding that your next level, your next level of fulfillment, success, joy, contribution, all of that. Well, thank you so much, Charley. Loved this interview. Great to have you here. And those of you listening, remember that every week we have a badass guest, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Fridays, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. So share this, like and comment. Tell us what your ahas are. And help us get the word out, because I just want the messages of all these guests who are coming on and giving their time to go out and make our world really a safe, happy, badass place where people are doing the thing that is theirs and theirs alone to do. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And even if you don't feel like a badass now, I can assure you, you are, or you wouldn't be listening.
Dr. Barnsley, thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Here, Charley. Ta-ta, everyone.